Welcome, everyone, to For the Love of Learning Communities, a podcast where we celebrate the fun, the friendships, and the magic of learning communities in higher education. I'm your host, Amy Cooper. I've had over 20 years of experience in learning communities at Wayne State University in Detroit.
I am George Hill. I'm an academic counselor at Hudson County Community College in New Jersey, and I'm the secretary of the National Learning Communities Association.
And we are so excited to welcome Sonja Rodiger-Radovic. She is an assistant professor of ESL at Hudson County Community College. It's going to be awesome. We are looking forward to hearing about Sonja's experience. She's been at Hudson since 2017. She loves teaching languages, and she is very proud to say that she's from Jersey City, which is the unofficial, official sixth borough of New York. We're going to hear all about her experiences at Hudson County and how learning communities have impacted her teaching and her experiences, and how she's impacted learning communities at Hudson County. Today, we're diving into the stories and the sparks of joy that make learning communities the best part of the college experience. So grab your favorite drink, leave your stress at the door, and let's get into it. Sonja.
Hello, happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. So just to start off, why are learning communities so great on your campus?
Well, the short answer would be because they are learning communities. The long answer would be, what does that mean? So what's learning and what's a community? And how can this be combined? So for us, clearly, any instructor, it's all about student success. We want them to learn. We want them to improve. We want them to reach the student learning outcomes and just the whole package. You know, we're looking at each student individually, and we want them to benefit from anything that we give them at any minute in any classroom. That's typically done in isolation. And by isolation, I mean you have your instructor, you have your subject, and that's it. So, and this is where the community comes in. Community, actually, if it's okay, Amy, I'd like to kick this back to you. What does community mean to you? If you could think of maybe 2-3 terms that community, that term represents to you.
For me, right off the bat, it really is hopefully an authentic connection with other people in that community, a strong sense of belonging, and that my participation and my showing up matters and impacts the other people that I'm interacting with. And hopefully all working towards a common goal, whether that be learning something together or impacting the community or trying to just be good humans and make friends and that kind of thing.
Love it, because that's essentially what it means to me as well. And what I've learned, what it means to our students also. It's they do come into this classroom, they don't know the idea of a learning community, but then we explain it first in theory. That's not as meaningful as really experiencing it every single time they're in the classroom, in this connected classroom, where we do develop this sense of belonging, this connection. What I've noticed, what's so important, it's not just the connection that you forge to your instructor, but really more importantly, so to your peers. Just one example, I started teaching a long time ago, way before smartphones were a thing. So what I'm trying to say is I'm used to walking into a classroom and I'm used to having students talk to each other. And the first thing I would have to say is, all right, everybody settle down, class is starting. We all know that's just not a thing anymore. We walk into a classroom and we can literally hear this proverbial pin drop because there is no sound that's being made except for some ping, ping, ping coming off people's smartphones. So what I've noticed in a learning community is students get to know each other. Students actually start talking to each other. Granted, not like they did 20 years ago, but there is a different level of walking into a learning community classroom than in any other classroom that I've experienced. Same thing. Okay, let's break for 15 minutes. They don't just necessarily pull out those phones and go back into their silo, but they still connect with the people around them. So this type of community, which maybe has nothing to do with learning, but it's the connecting, it's the belonging, it's the sense of I am in this group and I am a valid and important part in this group. That's amazing. And from there, what I've noticed is, yeah, of course we learn, I do have my syllabus. I know what I need to teach. And oftentimes it doesn't feel now I can't say it doesn't feel like teaching. I think because to me it always does. But to students, I don't think they perceive it as this is what I need to study now because this is what she just talked about. But it's more like, oh, wait a minute, there's information coming towards me. Let me make something out of this with my classmates, with my community around me. So that's what I've noticed in our learning communities. And I think it's phenomenal. The stress seems to be lower. I want to go as far as saying students become more intrinsically motivated because it's fun to go to class. And yes, we still have exams and nobody likes those. And we still have midterm and final grades and nobody likes those either. We are still reality. But we do offer something more than your average class.
I just love that. I mean, again, I've noticed too that there's that kind of level of comfortability I feel like that students have, especially new students, if they're focused on first year. They don't know what to expect. Maybe they heard about, how college is or how college classroom can be from family or friends or watching it on a movie or whatever. But you walk into that room and you might not know anybody. And that can be really scary. Helping them feel comfortable with each other and with you as the instructor and the faculty person is a game changer for a lot of these students. They can take a breath and they go, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, cool. And they move on. Like, I just love that. I love that. Love that. This is great.
Yeah. And what I've noticed, I like to eavesdrop, I like to hear what they're talking about. So I have been lucky to catch conversations between students when it comes to, let's see, what should I sign up for next semester? They're doing this together. They can do everything online. They can go see their advisor. Those are all phenomenal things. But to actually think about how am I proceeding on this journey? What is my next class going to be? And am I going to be on my own? No, I'll bring somebody that I already know. It's these connections that I think are just invaluable.
100%.
I would also say that as an advisor, a lot of times students will come into the registration lab or they'll come into the advisement office as a group. I know that they're coming from your learning community or from one of the other learning communities because they all say, but we want to take classes together again. We all want to be friends. I also love the idea that they're not just on their phones, that they're talking to each other. And especially with English language learners, that's important. I've seen students in my own teaching. I'm thinking of one student who, in my first semester teaching, he was a recent immigrant and he would come into the classroom and he wouldn't talk and he wouldn't engage. And about halfway through the semester, he comes to my office and he says, how do I get better at English? I said, you have to practice. You have to talk to people. You have to write multiple drafts for your written stuff, but you have to talk to people and engage. And I encouraged him to join Student Life. He started talking with the other students in the learning community. And there was a radical transformation from the quiet kid who just sat there and smiled at everybody to the next year I saw him on the first day of school out in front of the college welcoming all the students in. And I don't think that would have happened if he hadn't had the support of being in a learning community and feeling comfortable with the other students to talk.
And empowering him and connecting him to the resources and just encouraging him that time to practice is there, helping him feel comfortable to do that. That's amazing. So,
and the other thing, and I don't know if that's, if that's
No, go ahead.
specific to our ESL learning community, but based on what George just said, our students come from different cultures. They have so much to give. They have so much to share. And the one thing that they all share is they're new here and they may not know so much about American culture, and they're all experiencing this at the same time. And so they come with their collective experiences and they share those, because to them, our classroom, I want to say, feels like a very safe space. And it's become a space where students say, I don't understand. Why do people wear pajamas when they go grocery shopping? Because this is puzzling to just about anybody who didn't grow up here. And students share these experiences. And from there, it just keeps going on, and this flow just develops, and everybody says, hey, and the other day I saw someone who said this and did that. And there is no judgment. It's just learning. This is what happens in my new culture. But yeah, I need some time to digest this. I need to be able to adjust to this. And it feels so safe to know that you're not the only one who's experiencing this. You're not the only one that seems, wait a minute, I don't understand. This is weird to me. There are other people who are experiencing the same thing at the same time. And I don't know if you want to call it an issue, but any challenge, they're able to overcome together. And they end up going to the grocery store in pajamas. It's helping.
they're fitting right in. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes me so happy when we can see the benefits of that personal relationship and connection and that feeling of safety, right? Our world has become so locked to phones and technology and isolation. I just get so excited when I see students put the phone down and
Mhm.
engage and connect,
Mhm.
and you see that in real time, and it's amazing to watch that happen because we know the benefits of it for them, right? And we're like, if you just put the phone down and talk to somebody next to you, all the things you were just saying, like they're gonna share their experiences and share their perspectives and feel comfortable doing that, and just acknowledging, like, I don't understand, can someone explain this to me? Like, that's great. I love that. It's so great.
I could give so many more examples actually. Just yesterday,
I
it
know.
wasn't a learning community, but it was an ESL class. It was break time and they wanted to go over to Dunkin' Donuts. And then somebody said, I'll get a bagel. And somebody else said, what's a bagel? They just simply didn't know. So they have somebody else explain this to them. And so this one person chimes in and says, I don't like it because it's sweet. And then another person said, well, it doesn't have to be sweet. It can be, they didn't know the word for savory, but there's your
Okay.
teaching moment, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of things that happen in ESL as it is, but it just really gets enforced in a learning community where you spend more time with your classmates and again, where you feel safer sharing these experiences.
Love it. Now I want a bagel. So, Sonia, I wanted to switch gears just a little bit and maybe talk about some of the ways that your class connects with other classes in the learning community. Like, what's your favorite way to connect your discipline, or what are your ESL courses linked to in the learning community?
At Hudson, we have had a learning community for ESL reading comprehension. Level 4 is our highest level. So once students exit that level, they go into real quote unquote college classes. And that has been combined with psychology for years. It's very popular. Students enjoy it, and for so many reasons. Psychology is a requirement for most majors, but it's also something that students feel comfortable with because everybody knows what it means. And it's something that's just logical in a way to connect to reading comprehension because you do read a lot in psychology. So knowing that we had this learning community, which has been running again for a long time, very successfully, I wanted to expand on this offer. So I was thinking, what's a reading heavy class where students could benefit from the ESL support in reading comprehension and work with a subject other than ESL. So I came up in cooperation, I have to say, with the level 4 coordinator at that time, and we thought of sociology and found a wonderful sociology instructor who had never taught ESL students before. Maybe they have, because I feel in a way everybody at our college has students in their classes who at one point were ESL students, but not officially anymore, right? So once they take college level courses, they officially will have exited the ESL program. But that's how the ESL reading comprehension / speech, and I teach both these components, / sociology learning community was formed. I've had nothing but wonderful experiences. It seems that this combination is really something that students value. It seems meaningful to them and it just makes sense to them. And I remember at the end of our first semester, I asked students for feedback. How did this work for you? What was missing? What did you feel was relevant? What was helpful? What should we change moving forward? I was very, very transparent from the get-go with my students, telling them this is an experiment that we think will benefit you, but does it really? You are the ones who need to tell us. We can come up with all these wonderful ideas. If it's not working for you, let us know. And what came back was just the most amazing feedback. I would like to read just a few students' testimonials. So again, this is about the connection of our reading comprehension, speech, and sociology class. So what students said for the connection between reading and sociology was that the reading texts all dealt with some aspects of society. They had a lot of academic vocabulary that helped me understand some of the sociology content better. So we read, we try to figure out what's the main idea, what's going on in this text, but all these texts, again, are somehow connected to the society that we now live in. So that was the connection for reading and sociology. And then for speech, what we did is there's a lot of interaction between the instructors. So the sociology instructor let me know their assignments. And what I did from that was I developed speech assignments or speeches that students were asked to present based on what they had studied in their sociology class. So your typical speech class is you present what's called an informative speech. You maybe introduce the geography of your country. You talk about a person. If it's a definition speech, you talk about a concept, something more abstract. So we developed this a bit further and we took the sociology context and had students recycle, if you will, the content from the sociology class, which at that point had already been combined with the reading class, and then use this as a basis to present their speeches. So, and what students had to say for this was, it was great that the speech assignments were aligned with the sociology assignments. It helped me do better on both of them. I understood the speech assignment better because of the sociology assignment, and I understood the sociology assignment better because of the speech assignment. It was such a connection, not just between classes, but also between assignments. And that, I think, made it really valuable for students as well. Because we, as instructors, we were also concerned to not put anything extra on their plates. All of these courses are demanding. It's not easy to take a reading comprehension and a speech and a sociology class all concurrently. So the idea was not, yeah, we're a learning community, but here are our separate assignments. That wouldn't have worked. So we really felt that it was very important for students to see the connection between the courses in the assignments as well.
That's so great. Oh, that's so great.
So my favorite testimonial was when students said, every immigrant, every ESL student should take these 3 classes. They are an introduction to America. And I wanted to hug her. I remember the student was somebody who had studied sociology in Russia, who became very close friends with somebody who had studied sociology in Algeria. And now they're studying sociology in the United States of America, surrounded by the society that is now their everyday society. So the discussions were just amazing. And I have to say, I'm so grateful for what my students bring to this class. I learn so much from them. It's just super interesting and exciting to be teaching those classes.
That is incredible. I love that. That is so nice to hear. I mean, again, it's so heartwarming to see the work that you're putting into it with the other instructors play out for these students in real time, right? And having that much of an impact on them. It's amazing. I keep thinking about, I worked a lot with first year students when they were setting up their schedules, like, why do I have to take this class? I don't need that class. I'm not going to ever use that. Why are you making me take all these extra classes? And when you can connect the content and the assignment and demonstrate to them how what you're learning in this class impacts and benefits what you're learning in this other class, it's all of a sudden the switch flips and they go, oh, like you're saying, like, oh, I see how it all made it easier and helped me connect it. Like, again, that just is incredible too. So well done. That's amazing. That's amazing. Very, very cool. How long has it been connected to sociology? Has it just been a year or two, or is it now part of your normal curriculum?
This is going to be our 4th semester, so it's rather new. I have to say the reason it came about was because I had learned about the learning communities that we offer at Hudson, and I felt that we need more. We're very lucky to be supported by administration. We have a wonderful dean of learning communities who is so supportive. So literally all it took was for me to knock on her door and say, hey, what do you think about such and such? And she said, by all means, go ahead. It's the collaboration. Yeah, I may have had the idea, but I needed the support from the dean, and I got it. Sure. And I got the support from the coordinator. I got the support from the sociology instructor, which in and of itself, I feel like we all were in our own learning community as well. We had never worked in this constellation before. And we were ready for it, and we knew that it's an experiment. It may have gone either way, but it seems that everybody who was involved, whether it's students or instructors, we all highly benefited from it.
If you're starting out and trying to build a learning community and recruit faculty,
Mhm.
I think there can be a lot of hesitancy, or maybe, I don't want to say concern, but they're not sure exactly how much more work it's going to be and what this means to their schedule and their plans. And a lot of, I think, what we can say to faculty a lot of the time is, you're already doing about 90% of this work. Let's just tweak like, we'll work with you and tweak your schedule and work with your assignments and help that faculty see the benefit for themselves in connecting with their students in the classroom too.
Mhm.
And just kind of watching that magic happen. And to your point, then you have this connection with the sociology instructor and advisors, and it takes that team to make a learning community work. Just
It
like
takes
it
a
takes
community, absolutely.
yeah, right? Like, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
great. I get so excited about it. Like when I see it happening in real time and it's working
Mhm.
and everybody's like benefiting from the experience. It's really, really cool to learn about what you're doing at Hudson. This is amazing.
I would also point out that when this learning community came about, I was brand new at Hudson, and one of my first projects, when I talked with the dean, I said, I have this experience working in learning communities. How can I help? And she said, I need you to help recruit students because we have a great program, but we need to get students into it. And so I started designing these learning community flyers to explain what a learning community is to students. And I sent them to the dean, and then I got an email from Sonja saying, could you tweak this a little bit? Could you highlight that this is going to give them 6 academic credits? And so Sonja was really embodying that collaborative spirit there, because she was going to have this great learning community, but then she also recognized that it's nothing if we don't get the students into it. To even have the faculty collaborating on that part of it has been really wonderful.
Well, right
Very
back
cool.
at you, George, right back at you. Clearly, without those flyers, if I hadn't seen them, I wouldn't have been able to make tweaks here and there. It's a collaboration. It is a community. We as a community offer something to our students because we want them to be in this learning community, because there just are so many benefits for them. And also, the whole word community, we teach at a community college. When I first started there in 2017 as an adjunct, there was a reason why I wanted to be part of that community college. And then it took quite some time until I became a full-timer, but I felt like this is my place because I knew that this is a community that's really has it at its forefront to help students succeed on any level. This is why I'm still there.
We got to get you connected with the marketing department at Hudson County Community College, because you're just like, I want to go to Hudson County Community College. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's great. That's excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. How do you celebrate wins, big or small, within your learning community?
Well, I think I would have to start by defining what's a win. And to me, a win is any improvement that an individual student notices for themselves. So if there's someone in my classroom who hasn't raised their hands in the first 2-3 sessions, and all of a sudden they do, that's a huge win. And I acknowledge that, depending on the situation, depending on how I have gotten to know this person. But in this particular example, I wouldn't stand in front of the classroom and applaud, but I would talk to that student after class saying, hey, I noticed there was a change and really appreciate that. And that's typically all it takes for the student then to open up and say, yeah, because I noticed that nobody's English here is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, but I've noticed how you deal with those mistakes. To know that I played a part in making a student feel safe, coming out of their shell, that's a big win to be celebrated. So many of those small wins really happen in every lesson. It's, to me, a huge win is, and we talked about assignments earlier, when I say, I'm sorry, I need to call it a test because it is a test, but please look at it as a practice, because everything you do is learning here. And for students to come into class on test day and smile and be relaxed, that is a huge win for me and for them as well. And also that goes with, I didn't do so well. I only got a 65. but you know what? There is room for improvement. That is a huge win. So all of this to see that I'm learning because it benefits me and not just because I have to do well on a test. A gigantic win, of course, is when we are in reading class and somebody says, oh, but last week in sociology, or when I hear from the sociology instructor, yeah, students mentioned the assignment that they're using for their speeches. That is a gigantic learning community win.
Well, and again, too, those small wins can start stacking on each other too, right? And you just see these students trusting you, trusting each other, trusting the space that you've created to keep improving and keep coming back and keep trying. Again, it's just so exciting to hear about all the things that you're able to do with and for these students. Like it's making my day. I'm so excited. Yay. So, Sonja, George tells me that Hudson has something called Learning Community Day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do, and it is a wonderful event that happens once per semester. It's always towards the end of the semester, and the purpose is for learning community students to share their work with the larger community. So students in class prepare posters. They have a choice. They can create digital posters or they can do old-fashioned trifold paperboard posters, which interestingly enough, most students seem to prefer. Everybody knows how to create something digital. It takes them a few minutes. But we also have, I love where I work. So we have in our library, we have a room that's called the maker space. And that maker space is exactly what it is. It's a space to make things. And it looks in a way like an elementary school classroom, as in there are crayons, there are glue sticks, there is colored paper, and of course, more sophisticated stuff as well. So this is where I take my students towards the end of the semester. Of course, in class, we have already talked about what is it that you want to show on your poster board. And once that draft has been completed and discussed, not just with me, but with everybody in class, then we go and utilize that makerspace and create those colorful poster boards that are in a way a summary of a specific assignment that students had created throughout the semester. In our case, it's typically one of the sociology-based speeches that they have presented. So they would demonstrate 3 main ideas. There would be an introduction. There, of course, sources need to be mentioned. There would be a conclusion. But it's also, the poster itself is not meant to be overwhelming. They are all on display, again, for the whole college community to see. So the guideline is always, what would you like to see on a poster? If you walk through a room and you have these 30 posters on display, which one would be appealing to you and why? So with that in mind, students create their posters and then, like I said, showcase their work. There is a jury. So the 3 best posters win. They get a gift card. I think it's an Amazon gift card. But even without an incentive, I think students would really work diligently on their posters, because it is during Learning Community Day that we ask students to come up again. Here's public speaking at its best.
Right.
So you're not just facing your classroom, you're facing a huge part of the college community, and you explain your poster board, which in and of itself should be self-evident what you're saying. However, you're giving a chance to present what you have been working on. And we also listen to some student reflections. We listen to instructor reflections on what was going on this particular semester with your learning community. And it's always very well attended. And to me, it's just another reason to even join a learning community, because what happens is your work, your instructor gives you an assignment, you complete it, it gets graded, and that's it. Nobody else has any insight in what you put your work, your time, your effort in. It's just there between you and your instructor. So in our learning community, we take it a bit further, again, specifically for us, when there was a sociology assignment that had been completed on paper, that had been graded by the sociology instructor, but now is taken into speech class, and your classmates actually hear what it was that you wrote in your sociology paper. And it doesn't end there. There's discussion, there is feedback. And the great thing is everybody knows what their classmates are talking talking about because they all attended the same sociology class. So this is not some foreign concept. This is something that they all have some sort of insight into. It's being shared with the class. And then again, during Learning Community Day, this is the chance to share what you have created on a much bigger scale. It's exciting. Not everybody says, yes, I'll grab that microphone and I'll talk about my project in front of the whole school. But there are always some who are happy to do it. And I have to say, and you asked me earlier about what's a win. I once had a student, ESL student, clearly come up there and explain her work. And she was clearly still an ESL student. Not every word was pronounced correctly. There was a lot of hesitation. There was a lot of during her presentation. She was the proudest I had ever seen her after her 2-minute speech. And I have to applaud the audience because I don't know if everybody understood everything that she was saying, but everybody listened respectfully and applauded her because in a way, everybody knows what it's like to present and know you're not 100%. But this student had the courage to say, I want to do this. And just knowing that she, in her mind, had this feeling of, I'm safe here. This is my community. She realizes she doesn't sound like somebody who was born here. She knows she still makes mistakes. And yet, being ready to present the way she did, that was a huge win.
That's just amazing. Yay. Yay for her. Yay for you. Yay for the learning community. That's our work and effort in action, and the students' work and effort and putting their trust in you and in Hudson. And, it's just amazing to hear these great stories of the success of your students in this program. This is awesome. This is awesome. And so that is all the joy we have time for today. A huge thank you to our guest, Sonja Rodiger, for sharing your energy and reminding us why we do this work. If today's episode brought a smile to your face, pass the joy along. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this with a colleague or student who needs a lift. Until next time, keep infusing joy into your classrooms, keep building community, and have a fantastic week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.